WCBI News at 6 starts now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. A Chickasaw County Sheriff's investigator is laid to rest 2 days after he was killed in an on-duty car wreck. Allie Martin was at the visitation and funeral service for investigator Jimmy Voiles and has more on the legacy of the father, husband, and law enforcement officer.
Hours before the funeral service began, hundreds were lined up outside of Houston's Parkway Baptist Church to pay their respects to the family of Jeremy Voiles.
We're a family in itself, brothers and sisters, in the good times and the bad times.
Voiles, who was 33, was killed in a wreck Tuesday night while on duty. He was a passenger in a car driven by an agent with the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics. Throughout the city and county, black and blue ribbons are displayed as a show of support for the law officer who leaves behind a wife and 2 young daughters. Law enforcement officers from all over the state showed their support as they crowded into the church for the service.
But I am free. Holiness is Christ in me.
Those who knew Voiles say he was a man of integrity, character, and deep faith.
Jeremy had a smile on his face every time you saw him. He was a firm believer in Jesus Christ. He was a good mentor. He taught me a lot of things, and he led me in a good path to law enforcement. He gave me a passion for this kind of field of work. Like I said, he always had a smile on his face every time he done something or he helped someone. He was a good friend to everybody.
I spent 30 minutes with him at the football game Friday night. You know, Debbie and I were talking with him until he had to go make some kids quit shooting powder on the other kids there at the game. But, you know, he knew what public service was.
Jeremy grew up here in our church, but in 2010, Jeremy came to know Jesus as his personal Savior, and Jeremy's life was changed. He became a new creation, just like the Word of God says we do at salvation. He got very involved in church, became a deacon, served well as a deacon, worked in our children's program, our youth program, worked in our Awanas program, and wound up in the sound room leading the working the computer, which leads us in worship, and Jeremy was a big part in that and a big part in our church.
Jeremy Voiles is leaving a legacy of faith. In fact, one of the gentlemen in line for the visitation told me that he received a text message every Sunday from Jeremy asking if he were taking his family to church. That gentleman says he will this Sunday and every Sunday from now on in honor of his friend. In Houston, Allie Martin, WCBI News.
Voiles is the 28th officer nationwide to die in an on-duty car wreck this year. Well, when an officer goes down, the entire law enforcement community comes together. The Calhoun County Sheriff's Department took over patrol duties throughout Chickasaw County this afternoon. They wanted to be sure that the entire Chickasaw County Sheriff's Department had the opportunity to attend the visitation and funeral for Jeremy Voiles. Calhoun County Sheriff Greg Polland says he has known the Voiles family for a very long time, and this was his way of showing support during this tragic time.
The day after the accident, I went and had to sit down with the sheriff and offered my guys, myself, my department, anything that we could do to make this easier in any way. And so we're here today after we've paid our respects here at the church. Me and my guys are going out on patrol here in Chickasaw County. We're going to assist overflow calls or anything that they need, so we'll be here until the sheriff doesn't need us anymore.
Law enforcement agencies from across the entire state were in Houston during today's funeral service. It is time now to get a first look at our forecast. We'll turn things over to Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson live from Starkville.
Stunning weather here in Starkville on our Friday night. Look at this scene behind me. Oxford, Starkville getting ready for high school football week number 2. 54 minutes and 21 seconds until kickoff, and weather couldn't be any better. We've got temperatures that are warm. We are in the 80s right now. Gorgeous sunshine, blue sky. Now it's pretty hot, but once the sun goes down, we're looking at temperatures to cool down into the 70s. So low 80s at kickoff, 70s later on this evening after the sun goes down. So great weather for high school football. We'll have the rest of your holiday weekend forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Keith, thanks a lot. New developments today in Oxford involving a former police officer. A Lafayette County grand jury hands down a capital murder indictment against Matthew Kenny in the death of 32-year-old Dominique Clayton. Kenny is accused of breaking into Clayton's home and killing her on May 19th. The family's attorney, Carlos Moore, says the two were involved in a romantic relationship, which he believes was behind the motive behind the shooting. In May, Moore filed a notice on behalf of Clayton's family seeking more than $5 million in damages from the city of Oxford. The city still has not responded to that notice. A Lafayette County grand jury also indicting former Ole Miss student Brandon Thiesfeld on a capital murder charge. Thiesfeld's attorney, Tony Faris, tells WCBI the grand jury is saying the murder took place during a kidnapping, which gave them the basis for the capital murder charge. The case started July 20th when the body of Allie Costiel was found near a hunting lodge in Harmontown. Thiesfeld was arrested 2 days later in connection with the death. Faris says Thiesfeld plans to plead not guilty during the arraignment next week. As Labor Day approaches, a local labor union is closer to recovering more than $500,000 stolen by its former president. Yesterday, 66-year-old Danny Woodcock was ordered to pay nearly $520,000 to the Local Communications Workers of America chapter during a federal court sentencing. The Caledonia resident took the money over a 4-year period while serving as the union president. Woodcock will also spend 46 months in prison for the embezzlement. A routine audit turns out to be anything but that in Okolona. State Auditor Shad White says former Okolona City Clerk Rebecca Moore is accused of taking around $8,000 from the city back in 2016 and 2017. White says Moore claimed over 400 hours in vacation time she was not eligible for. The shortfall was discovered when a private CPA firm discovered the unusual payment pattern to Moore. She's free on a $10,000 bond. Well, if you've ever been to a festival, you were probably more focused on the music, the fun, or the food. You may not have even noticed the occasional police officer or deputy. That's by design. Law enforcement don't want to ruin a good time, but they also have to keep an eye on a lot of people in a small area. Our Riley Livingston went to Clay County to find out how they do that. She joins us in the studio with more. Riley.
Andrea, events like this weekend's Prairie Arts Festival has a lot of moving parts, from planning to set up to the actual event. And working behind the scenes is local law enforcement looking to help out and keep everyone safe. The Prairie Arts Festival kicks off Saturday, but local law enforcement has been gearing up for a while.
We actually started planning this months ago. Getting ready, we'll have our mobile command out there, and at this point we'll have deputies that will be in amongst the crowd. We'll have eyes and ears all over the place, so they'll be keeping us informed.
Sheriff Eddie Scott says they plan for the worst while hoping for the best. And it can't be done alone.
You're looking at thousands of people that's coming into our community. So again, it takes us all working together with all the first responder agencies, coming together and working with the city, working with the county leaders, the supervisors, the aldermen, and trying to put it all together. But it takes a team effort to make sure everybody that comes here is safe and that they leave our county and city, an enjoyable experience.
And they're not just there to keep an eye out for the bad guys.
If anybody needs anything, all they have to do is let an officer know, or one of the volunteers, or any of the event staff know, because there are a lot of those people that are going to be available to help with any issue that anybody may have.
We have people that are from heat exhaustion, people getting keys locked in their cars. So, it's a real variety of services that we have to perform. So, we kind of go from A to Z in being able to help people get here and leave safely.
Captain Virginia Rich encourages people to still keep an eye on your surroundings while still having a good time.
Well, we just ask everybody to, just pay attention to what's going around them, enjoy it, have fun. That is the purpose of it, and we're excited about it, and we welcome everybody to the communities.
Security preparations begin tonight once streets start to close.
Well, there will be a new beverage option for football fans at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium come mid-season. The University of Mississippi announcing today that beer sales will start with the October 19th game against Texas A&M. The plan also includes sales at men's and women's basketball games and at baseball games in the spring. Now, beer is the only alcohol currently being offered for sale. The school says additional revenue is not the sole reason for the alcohol sales. They hope that allowing people to buy beer at games will cut down on the amount of binge drinking before games. Last week, you may remember the University of Southern Mississippi announced its plan to sell alcohol at games. So far, only Ole Miss and Southern Miss have plans to sell alcohol. Today kicks off Mississippi's Second Amendment tax-free weekend. Firearms, ammo, and archery supplies are just some of the items that are tax-free. Gina Reed with Gary's Pawn and Gun says it's a busy time for their store. She says many people are using this weekend to stock up on ammo, and others are preparing for dove season, which starts this weekend.
Actually, so far it's been really busy, and so we feel like over the next couple of days that it's going to get busier. Actually, it's a great weekend. We have obviously the guns are on sale, ammo's on sale, so it's really good for like recreational shooters, hunters. You just can't go wrong.
The tax-free weekend wraps up Sunday. Tomorrow it's arts and crafts in West Point, as we just showed you, but tonight it's blues. We have a preview when we come back. Welcome back. If you're looking for something to do tonight to kick off the weekend, you might just head over to West Point for some down-home blues. The 24th annual Black Prairie Blues Festival just kicked off about 15 minutes ago. Organizers are expecting a big turnout. Program Director Jeremy Klutz says he anticipates close to 1,000 people will show up to enjoy the talented lineup. With Mississippi being the home of the blues, he says this event helps keep history alive.
Yeah, we're kind of the backbone of music right here. The majority of all blues players are originally from Mississippi, and we're just trying to carry on that tradition.
The Black Prairie Blues Festival serves as an unofficial kickoff for this weekend's Prairie Arts Festival. Our very own Joey Barnes, by the way, is the MC for that event tonight.
Practice in full swing here in Starkville. The weather is perfect. It's going to be a great Friday night, a great holiday weekend. We'll talk about it coming up next.
WCBI First Alert AccuWeather Forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
Welcome back to the Nest here in Starkville, and we have fantastic weather. I'm a bit hot, I'm a bit parched. It's warm out here today everywhere else, but football is going on here. We got the Yellow Jackets, we got Oxford in town. It's going to be a great night. And we have about 41 minutes to go until things get underway here in Starkville. And if you want great weather, just stay where you're at because it's going to be nice all weekend long. Let's talk about it here with your forecast. Our Health Insurance Camera Network shows no problems here across our region. Gorgeous blue sky. We have temperatures that are currently in the mid-80s locally here. The dew point very, very low, actually in the 50s and low 60s, and that's going to give us another great night. There are no clouds in the sky to speak of, a few way to the north and some showers back to the north and to our southeast. But right now, we're home free for your Saturday, your Sunday, your Monday, Labor Day. We're looking at lots of sunshine, low 90s for highs. A slim chance for a shower storm. Let's show you that with Futurecast. Not so much for Saturday, but there's actually a little bit of moisture that will try to pivot back to the northwest here for Sunday, especially to the southeast of Columbus, closer to I-2059 Sunday into Monday. But most of us will not see any rain going through this holiday weekend. Let's talk about Hurricane Dorian. It's a big storm. It's getting better organized. It looks like a mini buzzsaw right now in the western Atlantic. And right now, all signs suggest that it will be approaching Florida sometime early next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, and then it could actually go all the way up the eastern seaboard there. So something to watch out for. It will have no impact on our weather here. For tonight, we are looking at clear conditions, lows down into the mid to low 60s. For your Saturday, how about more sunshine? Much like today, low 80s by late morning, upper 80s to low 90s in the afternoon. It's looking great across the entire area. Across the Twin States, lots of sunshine too. Let's go right to your AccuWeather 7-day forecast and just talk about where we're headed. Actually, even warmer next week, low to mid-90s, plenty of sunshine here going into next week. But if you're coming out to high school football this evening in Starkville or anywhere else in North Mississippi, this is the scene tons of sunshine, blue sky, pack the water. It's hot out here, but once the sun gets a little bit lower, things will be improving. We're looking at 70s for this evening, so some pretty nice weather here. Tom Ebel is with me as well. He's acting as my camera guy right now. He's back with sports here as well. Stay tuned.
WCBI Sports with Tom Ebel is brought to you by your local Ford dealers. Go further.
Welcome back here to the nest in Starkville, the site of our Carl Hogan Toyota game of the week between the Starkville Yellow Jackets and the Oxford Chargers. Tom Ebel here at WCBI Sports, joined by Jared Redding of SES Mississippi. Go follow them on Twitter. Go follow SES Mississippi. They do a lot of great job for high school sports. But Jared's here joining us today. You were at that game last week with Oxford and Northwest Rankin. We saw a little bit of Starkville and Brandon, but just right off the bat with Oxford, what are some of the things that stood out to you?
You know, last week it was just simple. You know, the better team won. Oxford scored 43 points. You know, a lot of it, you know, with the short field, we really got to see that vaunted Oxford defense really go to work. It was well advertised coming into the season. How loaded they were on that side, particularly at linebacker in the secondary, made things almost look easy. Their first offensive possession of the year was a safety, and just really worked from that point on with a lot of tackle flaws, and just didn't really miss many assignments, and it just ended up being a pretty dominant Week 1 performance for the Chargers.
And so for Starkville, coming off that loss to Brandon, we talked a little bit before the live shot just about how much this game means to both teams. You know, you have Starkville, they want to win. Oxford wants to go 2-0. Just what do you think about the Little Egg Bowl and just how much of this game means to this team in terms of moving forward in the season?
Yeah, I mean, of course, being an Oxford native, you know, you hear about, you know, Oxford football a lot, and every time Oxford football seems to be brought up, there's always going to be that game brought up last year where Starkville defeated Oxford 56-7. And I'm sure all these Oxford players are probably tired of hearing about that. You know, they've had to hear about it everywhere they've gone. You know, some stuff on social media, but, you know, it seems like they want them to be their turn. You know, they've really looked forward to this one in the game. This is the one that they've always circled on the calendar, you know, ever since that loss last year. And look for a big dogfight against a good Starkville team once again.
Absolutely. And Starkville, this rivalry's been going on since 2013. It's been all Yellow Jackets. They've won the last 5. They're 5-1 in the series. Jared, if you're going to pick an X Factor, I'll pick one for Starkville, but I'll go with you first. Who would you pick as the X Factor for Oxford in this one?
I mean, that's pretty easy. Just the big playmaker for Oxford, J.J. Pegues, you know, well advertised, you know, with a 6'3", 275-pound frame. Anytime you have some guy with that size come to you, you know you're going to have a lot of issues with that. It's just going to be interesting to see the different ways that they get the ball, and it's going to be crucial not just to this game, but just how Oxford really just moves the ball this season.
For Starkville, I'm going to go with Rufus Harvey. He's another guy well known. The last time I was at this game in 2017, Rufus caught a touchdown as a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. So Rufus is a guy, he played well against Brandon. If he gets going against a very good Oxford secondary, I think Starkville could be in for a very good game. But Jared, what's another game that maybe you'd watch for today?
There's a couple games going on around the state. You know, you got Pearl and Warren Central kind of down there near the capital area of the state. A big one also in that area, Madison Central and Brandon, two of the best teams in that capital area. So that'll be a really fun one to watch. West Point and Louisville, you know, in this general area, you know, always going to be a good one to watch.
Same with Skunk Bowl. Smithley Hatfield will have all that coming up on the end zone. But for now, reporting here in Starkville, Tom Ebel, Jared Redding for WCBI Sports. We'll have a last look next.
Get your game day pizza at Papa John's.
It's hard to say, but the weather's almost getting more beautiful here, Keith.
I can't make this up. It's fantastic.
Let's do it again next week.
Hey, I think we will.
Make sure you tune into the end zone at 10. We'll see you next